For my project, I decided to take on the Japanese art form of Kintsugi. Kintsugi is essentially the mending of broken ceramics with gold. The word Kintsugi itself actually means gold mending or gold joinery. This practice is meant not to hide the cracks that we find in the pottery, but instead to highlight them, which I found to be such a beautiful concept and so applicable to so many concepts that we talked about in class. Immediately when I heard about this art form, it made me think about all of our discussions in class about how art can portray brokenness in such a beautiful way. It also made me think about how in scripture it talks about the Lord being made strong in our weakness. And so I thought that I would give it a go. I truly learned about a million things trying to complete this project, but I can't explain them all here. Instead, this video is just to be a glimpse into what the process of Kintsugi looked like for me as I attempted it. I first had to purchase pottery, which I got from a resale store called Turnip Green. I also purchased that bag from Turnip Green. I then took a hammer to the corner. It took me a few times to even figure out how to break the pottery or how hard to hit it, but eventually it all fell apart. I then took the pieces out and looked at how they were supposed to fit together. I'd read a lot of different insight about how to make the glue that stuck the pieces together, so ultimately I just tried doing gold paint and glue to start. The glue and paint alone actually didn't work very well, and so I ended up adding flour to the mix, which was something I had read online. And so I came back to that bowl later because I got frustrated and started with a new one. As you can see, a lot of little fragments broke off, and so I ultimately had to clean out a lot of the dust that was left. So then I went about putting it together with the new mix. This was a lot easier, I think partially because of the shape of the pot, but also because of the mixture. Then I went on to this cute little flower bowl, which I think is my favorite.
Getting better at breaking it.
Something I realized, especially because of how poorly my first attempt was how important it was to keep the pieces held together while the pieces were drying, and also how important it was to put all the pieces together at once. Otherwise, not all of the pieces would fit, first of all, and also, again, it would just fall apart if it wasn't being held together by something, which is why I held these pieces together with rubber bands. I also thought this was a beautiful symbol of how God holds us together in the midst of our own restoration processes. I ultimately went back to that first bowl that I tried to mend that had kept falling apart, and this time I didn't have rubber bands that were big enough to hold it together, so I tried holding it together with string, but that still wasn't working very well. And so ultimately one of my roommates gave me the suggestion of trying to keep the bowl upside down while I was putting it together, which was a brilliant idea. So I kind of made a complete mess during this process, so I ended up having to go back to clean up the extra paint that I had gotten on other aspects of the pots. Then these were the final products.